was not that long ago. A pull rope at a garage was called a noose, and the FBI sent in a squad of like a dozen agents to go see what happened with this noose. It was a garage pull rope. It was the NASCAR thing. You remember this? It's amazing how quickly the FBI can mobilize for nothing. Maybe it's because they're lazy. Maybe it's because a lot of these guys are like, look, it's just easier to deal with the nonsense than it is to deal with actual crimes. And I've seen this of police officers as well. Does a cop really want to go somewhere dangerous, or do they want to go pull someone over and give them a ticket or something? You see? The FBI searched the wrong woman's home because someone sent them a tip, because we live in a paranoid, delusional country. But more importantly, I don't care if someone wants to give the FBI a tip, but Antifa, the far left, the Black Lives Matter rioters, they get cut loose. People know who they are. People post photos. Andy No, for instance, will just report on publicly available information, and they say he's doxing. Ryan Riley for the Huffington Post does the exact same thing for the conservatives at January 6th, and they say he's doing great journalism. We have the story from the Anchorage Daily News. Tipsters' social media post led FBI to search Homer woman's home for links to Capitol riot. This is up in Alaska. It wasn't the correct woman. They went to the wrong house simply by virtue of being in D.C. and looking like someone, because sometimes people look like, have similarities. She gets her home raided by the FBI. Where's the FBI to raid the home of the extremists who have been organizing ongoing riots for the past year? Well, nowhere to be seen, nowhere to be found, I guess. A lot of people have talked about Black Lives Matter being communist. I had a conversation with Kimberly Klasick over at Timcast IRL. Go to timcast.com, become a member. You can see this conversation in the members area. And there are, surprisingly, a large group of Chinese individuals donating to Proud Boys because they're scared that Black Lives Matter is communist and they're going to take over. And these are people who fled communism. I'll tell you something funny. There's something called the red salute. You know what that is? It's when you raise your fist. You ever notice that Black Lives Matter does the same thing? The same thing the Chinese Communist Party does when they're being sworn into a political position? I want to show you what's going on with the FBI. I want to talk to you about what's going on with these schools. And I think this story right here from Anchorage Daily News just shows how the FBI will go above and beyond to break into your house, to go after you if you're on the wrong side of the political battle. So I think it's, as some conservatives have said, you're a second-class citizen. If you are anti-woke, if you're a Trump supporter or voter, you're a second-class citizen. It's time to realize this. You won't get justice. And I guess it's important to point out, while it may seem hyperbolic, this is a communist push. We are seeing actual communism. They disguise it. They call it other things. But I'm going to show you some of the evidence and break down for you the basics of the subversion. First, take a look at this story. They say two anonymous tipsters, an Instagram post and a photo comparison led the FBI to break down the door of a Homer couple's home last week, according to a search warrant unsealed Wednesday. The FBI had hoped to find a laptop stolen from the office of U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi during the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol by supporters of Trump. I don't think they're supporters of Trump. I don't think so. I think you can maybe say the people on January 6th were passively Trump supporters, but Trump literally said not to do it. Like on more than one occasion, he said, be peaceful, go home, go in peace. And people ignored him. So there's something else. They're Trump supporters second, but fine. They do support the president. They say rioters invaded the Capitol in an attempt to disrupt the certification of Biden's win. We get it. Paul and Marilyn Hooper attended a pro-Trump rally that preceded the riot and went to the Capitol, but never entered the building, they said, attributing the FBI search to a case of mistaken identity. And I think it's true and kind of obvious. Well, they have photos. The FBI's search warrant says its interest in the Hoopers, who own the Homer Inn and Spa, began in February when an unarmed tipster informed the FBI about an Instagram post by Paul Hooper. The post made on January 10th shows Marilyn from behind walking up the stairs toward the U.S. Capitol while wearing a puffy black coat. Paul's caption said in part, Marilyn approaching the Capitol. As patriots, there is a righteous revolution to take back our country. Keep praying. We are only getting stronger and will not quit till our country is restored. To be there was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Now, I'll admit, when I saw this and I see this photo, I'm like, sounds like this lady was in there. Sounds like they were, well, they're actually fairly far away. They go on to say, on Wednesday, Paul Hooper said, by no means do I condone the bad players who went in the Capitol. He said that when he referred to a righteous revolution, he was referring to his hope that the country allows more individual freedoms. I was excited to see 1 million people there protesting the results of an election. He said the photo was taken around 3:30 p.m. We were told we could go in, but that sounded like a really bad idea, Marilyn Hooper said. She said she was surprised when she arrived at the Capitol and was told by fellow Trump supporters that they could go into the Capitol. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, you can just get in that line over there. There's a line. That's the line. Just get in line. I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think we're going to do that. There's people coming out with blood on them and stuff. The tipster contacted the FBI on February 24th in connection to a February 17th incident in which the Hoopers were banned from flying on Alaska Airlines because they failed to follow masking rules. Quote, we can confirm the Hoopers were banned in February due to non-mask compliance. Alaska and federal policy requires all guests to wear masks throughout their journey. As a policy, we do not comment on the status of individual passengers related to federal investigations, according to a spokesperson. The unnamed FBI tipster said Marilyn Hooper looked like the woman seen in surveillance camera video and third-party video from within the Capitol. In those images, an unidentified woman is seen entering Pelosi's office and disconnecting cables from a laptop, which is then removed from its desk by an unidentified man. Now, it would seem that the Anchorage Daily News doesn't want to just come out and say it, but they posted this photo. They have these photos. In one, it says the ellipse. There's a woman here wearing my usual uniform. They say the composite photo illustration shows a photograph of Marilyn Hooper left that was taken on January 6th, 2021, and provided by Hooper, next to two images published by the FBI on the right, showing an unidentified woman in the U.S. Capitol on the same date. You'll notice they're not the same woman. It's kind of amazing. They do kind of look similar, I guess. Maybe it's just the coat. But the woman on the left has different hair, and she's wearing a different shirt, and she's wearing a scarf. The woman on the right isn't wearing those things. This is what I find terrifying. The FBI had no problem going to this woman's house on a hunch, on a tip from a random person, breaking the door down with a search warrant, looking for a computer in Alaska. They had no problem going to a NASCAR garage over a pull rope. But apparently they have a very big problem with going and tracking down the extremists who literally killed people and burned down buildings. Now, of course, you had the incident with, Bill Barr sending federal agents to track down Michael Reinl, the guy who killed Aaron Danielson in Portland. And that guy lost his life, and the left was freaking out about it. So it's not like it's absolutely one-sided or anything. But I will say it's scary. When you have schools, when you have mainstream corporations all supporting overt communism, then maybe the regular people just don't realize it. But I tell you, if I see a bunch of people doing the Roman salute, I'm going to go ahead and assume they're neo-Nazis. They can tell me otherwise. I don't care. They're going to go do that. They're going to say a bunch of Nazi stuff. Yeah, sorry. You're not going to change my mind on that one. We get from the media this narrative about white supremacy and the far right over and over again. And it's not real. I mean, there are some, fringe far right, neo-Nazi white supremacists, but not that many. The left comes out and says the entire system of governance here in the United States is white supremacist, even though we've already had a civil rights movement. We've had the end of anti-miscegenation laws. But that works. It works because regular people don't care, don't fight back. And at a certain point, when federal law enforcement is politicized to go after random people simply just for being in D.C., I mean, that's scary, isn't it? At what point do the feds just say, well, you know what? You're the best approximation of this person, so we're going to charge you anyway. They go on to say the woman was wearing a black puffy coat similar to the one Hooper wore, and she had a similar hairstyle. She said, I have a black puffy coat like that. That's the only thing I had that resembles hers, and somehow they managed to not to take that. When questioned during the FBI search of her home, Hooper said she noted that the woman resembled her, but pointed out key differences in their appearance in multiple photos. The warrant says the woman in the Capitol was wearing a distinctive metallic thumb ring. Hooper said she doesn't own one and doesn't wear one. According to the warrant, the FBI compared the surveillance images to the photo of Hooper's driver's license and confirmed it was her. A second tipster who said they knew Hooper personally contacted the FBI on March 23rd, confirmed she is the person in photographs 225A and B, the warrant said. The warrant does not include any cell phone location data showing them inside the Capitol. Other FBI warrants related to the January 6th riot have included such data. Is this not scary? The FBI has used cell phone location data. They've bragged about it. They've used facial recognition. They've bragged about it. In this instance, this woman had her home raided. For what? They didn't use cell phone data. She clearly had it. They were taking photos and posting them to Instagram. The FBI didn't use that because I don't know what to tell you, man. maybe it's a bit pessimistic. There's some things to look forward to, I guess. There's some things that may give me hope in terms of seeing a pushback against wokeness, seeing, people speak out about these schools. But when you have the FBI using the power of the DOJ to go after people, I mean, I don't know. I'm just a bit pessimistic. Now, make no mistake. This is a communist push. I don't know if I want to say takeover. A lot of people will say that it's hyperbolic or conspiratorial. No. Hold on. Let me show you what's going on, okay? It's racist and Marxist teaching. Parents who homeschooled their child in California and left the state over its woke curriculum now fight to keep critical race theory out of schools in Utah. That's good. But I am sick of hearing critical race theory over and over and over again, ignoring critical theory in general, which is, as they say, Marxist teaching or cultural Marxism, whatever you want. What do they call it? The Frankfurt School of Thought. There's whatever the ideology is they're using. You need to understand that they might take actual literature and arguments, but there's no rules. For a month or whatever, we were going through this anti-Asian hate campaign, Stop Asian Hate. Well, now that the hate crimes are ramping up and it's black people attacking Asian people, I don't see them coming out anymore. Do you? It's manipulative. It's a manipulation. It's an excuse. And there are a lot of regular people who are too stupid and don't care, and they support this. And it'll only become worse for them. Now, you have people who are opposing critical race theory in schools. Good. Critical theory in general, the woke ideology and leftist identitarianism needs to be targeted specifically as the umbrella, not just one aspect of it, but better than nothing. We're seeing in a bunch of different states critical race theory being banned. Tennessee bans. Texas is considering it, banning it. There's, I believe, Utah, Idaho governor signs bill to ban critical race theory. These are good things because what we're seeing with this stuff is it's communism. Now, I guess communism has become relatively nebulous in terms of what it actually represents, but it's authoritarian command economy structure. And there's a bunch of different names for what you can call these things, right? I just say authoritarianism is the easiest way to describe it. But in many ways, what we are saying literally is communism. I'm going to prove it. Let me show you some stuff. First, let me point out what they're teaching in these schools, critical race theory. This is a core component of the Black Lives Matter ideology. It's a core component of intersectional feminism and leftist identitarianism. They talk about white privilege, for instance. You have Donald Trump banning critical race theory, Joe Biden supporting it. A core component of what Black Lives Matter is trying to do is implement critical race theory in government. Why? These theories maybe have some interesting points. There's writers who make interesting points, but they're twisted, and some of it is taken out of context or used in ways to gain power for fringe far leftist authoritarians. They know that in America, we don't tolerate racism, or we did for a long time, and we had a cultural reckoning with it well before I was born, and our reckoning with it allowed me to literally be born. So this country is not a fan of it. At a certain point, you look at the Civil War, people didn't like racism. You look at Jim Crow and the Civil Rights era, people said no to this, and they pushed back and they stopped it. At a certain point, somebody realized this was a point of contention, a weak point in this country. And I believe it was probably fringe far leftists who knew they could exploit the system by pitting people against each other in ways that made no sense. How do you preserve the power of the ultra elite? Well, I'll tell you one thing that actually scares them is literal, leftist policy. This is why the dirtbag left isn't particularly prominent and why many leftist anti-war activists get banned. They want woke leftism because communism requires the elites to maintain power. Communism doesn't actually believe in distributing wealth. It's a myth. There is a fair difference between socialism and communism. If you want to nitpick, I suppose, maybe it's pedantic, but socialism is just an economic system. It's basically the people control the means of production. It doesn't really work because you need to be an authoritarian to do it, which eventually makes it all turn into communism. Communism is typically where it's supposed to be, mind you, where a bunch of people, everything is evenly owned or equally owned and everybody is just working, in a decentralized manner, sure. But it only works. You can only implement communism with an authoritarian system. So what we academically would call communism is what the left is fighting for, which doesn't seem to make sense and is utopian. And what you actually get with communism is authoritarian command economy where they just tell you what you can or can't do and then, put people in prisons who defy the system because that's the only way they can maintain that power. So what do we get? Black Lives Matter. The things they advocate for. A white homeless guy is an oppressor and Oprah Winfrey is oppressed. Serena Williams, an extremely wealthy and world famous athlete, is oppressed, and that disabled white veteran is the oppressor. It makes no sense. It's because they don't actually want the elites to lose their power. They want to just solidify their power. So the ultra wealthy individuals need to find a way to get people to fight each other in such a way that they can implement an ideological system that puts them in power indefinitely. They can now wield the FBI as a tool to go after anyone who dares oppose them. So let's talk about critical race theory and Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter is a communist organization. Period. Hands down. No questions. I mean, they say this themselves. Now, a lot of people might not know that. A lot of stupid people march around raising their fist. But you ask yourself this question. Many people do. How was it that so many people in Nazi Germany just went along with the Nazi party? Do you think the average person who was doing these salutes had any idea what the government planned on doing or was going to do? No. Do you think these people who went around on Kristallnacht smashing things cared? No, they were zealots. They followed the system blindly and ignorantly. And that's why that's why it happened. Take a look at what's happening now. You see these protests where regular traditional libs, people who don't pay attention to news at all, are marching around raising their fist. Do you know what the raised fist is? I think it's hilarious. It's kind of funny. It's like sitting back, just watch this stuff. Just go Wikipedia. Raised fist, Wikipedia says. Here's what they describe it as in terms of a salute. Different movements sometimes use different terms to describe the raised fist salute. Among communists and socialists, raised right fist is sometimes called the red salute. Whereas among some African-American activists, especially in the U.S., it's called the black power salute. Now, I think it's funny because I post this on Twitter, and then you get a bunch of people saying, like, did you even read the other sentence? It's actually the black power salute. Yeah, just like the Roman salute is the Roman salute, appropriated by Nazis and used by white power groups. What's the difference? If you want to raise that salute, I think I know where your politics lie. They're going to say, the Rotfront Kampfverband, paramilitary organization of the Communist Party of Germany, used the right-hand fist salute as early as 1924. By this time, the Soviet Union had already established the use of a traditional Russian military salute. During the Spanish Civil War, it was sometimes known as the anti-fascist salute, just like the Berlin Wall was called the anti-fascist protection rampart. A letter from the Spanish Civil War stated, the raised fist, which greets you in salute, is not just a gesture. It means life and liberty being fought for and greeting of solidarity with the democratic peoples of the world. Let me show you. The raised right fist is used by officials in mainland China when being sworn into office. It's incredible. Psychologist Oliver James has suggested that the appeal of the salute is that it allows the individual to indicate that they intend to meet malevolent, massive institutional force with force of their own, and that they are bound in struggle with others against common oppression. I don't care what you call your stupid Weimar Germany communist or fascist salutes. You can say it's a black power salute, but it was first used by the Soviets and the communists. You can say it's a white power salute. Yes, and it was used by the Nazis and the Romans. Still a bad thing. They're both bad. So it's funny how they try and differentiate because they're lying to you. If you see a man walking around doing a Nazi salute, it doesn't matter if that guy's literally a member of the Nazi party or believes in the system of governance of fascism. They may just be white supremacists. Does it matter? They're still doing the salute, and it's still a bad and crooked and corrupt ideology that we must oppose. But here in the U.S., it's not being opposed. It's being supported. It's being propped up on TV. It's being propped up by mainstream corporations. And we can see the seat of government is slowly becoming deferential to it. There was a viral tweet. Somebody apparently is a former FBI agent saying that the FBI is now just a tool of the Democratic Party or whatever. Now, I don't want to say the Democratic Party is necessarily far left. I think they're more authoritarian than anything. But I think they use wokeness because communism isn't necessary. It's not really about being far left. if you want to talk about the core of actual economics, far right being laissez-faire and far left being cooperative, it's competitive versus cooperative markets. A competitive market is where I try and convince you to trade with me instead of him and my product is better. And a cooperative market is where everyone sits down and shares the bounty of their labor, which is really hard to scale up. Capitalism is really easy to scale up. Communism purports to be far left to a certain degree. But when a bunch of elite party members are fat and bloated, like in Venezuela, I guess Venezuela doesn't claim to be communist. It's not communism. Communism is a utopian, nonsensical worldview where everyone's holding hands. If communism was ever actually going to be implemented, it would be more like the Borg. But hey, I guess even the Borg had a queen. And therein lies the real problem. The Democratic Party, it's not communistic in an academic sense. A communist will tell you that the Democratic Party is not communist. But as far as I'm concerned, moral authoritarian, despotic authoritarians who will tell me what I can or can't do and strip individual liberties, they're all the same. Now, they use different symbolism. Whether it's a fist or an open hand, I don't care. It represents authoritarianism to me and it's bad. But for some reason today, communism is allowed, even though it killed 100 plus million people over the past 100 years. It's allowed, it's tolerated. Imagine if the Black Lives Matter walking out with the fist. Imagine if they were doing that with a swastika. I'm sorry. Authoritarianism is authoritarianism. Extremism is extremism. And the scary thing now is that it's in law enforcement. Whatever, man. I guess it is what it is. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.